If you'd like to support the show, consider checking out our sponsors show. Jeff has a new show called Foolish Wits, a weekly arts and culture comedy conversation podcast. And don't miss Shattered Worlds, an original RPG podcast, which also live streams on Twitch. All of the links can be found in the show notes. Let them know you heard about them from Unspoiled. This is an Unspoiled Network podcast. This is Some Spoiled, A Song of Ice and Fire 2, the co-host Switcheroo, the rereading Return to Westeros HBO Spoiler Edition, uncut, uncensored, and too hot for TV. Bringing you the greatest hits from 1998. Call in with your requests now. We are covering chapters 38 and 39. Arya and Catelyn. In these chapters, Arya selects another person to die and immediately is like, but wait, no, I take it back. But she can't. It's too late. And Catelyn gets Ned's bones. Welcome to Some Spoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
So, these chapters were like both things that I had forgotten happened. So far, most of the chapters, even if I had not predicted it was coming in this certain chapter, I remember once I get to it, oh yeah, this thing happens. Or I remember the plot point is coming, and I just don't know exactly when. But the whole way that this all goes, I had just like straight forgotten.
Oh.
So, yeah, I really forgot, too, that Arya regrets her choice. And I don't know how I forgot about it. Did this happen in the show? Do you remember if she sort of like says and then takes it back?
I don't remember.
And, you know, we had been talking last time when she picked a name about why she should pick somebody bigger and badder. And she had like a sort of justification in her head that I don't remember what it was. But it was like enough at the time. But now it's sort of like Martin decided to have her wise up just a second too late.
Yeah.
What did you think of this like whole chapter?
What I specifically about her choice, what I appreciate the most about it is it feels very realistic. Mm-hmm. I know that say someone said, give me 3 names to me. Right? Mm-hmm. Which I'm still waiting. Eventually, somebody will come and ask me for 3 names.
Fairy, please.
But until that day comes, I would like to think, I would pick big players, do good for the world, you know. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, I think for most of us, is we are petty people. And I don't mean petty in just in the fun internet kind of I'm a petty bitch kind of thing.
Right.
But like the things that impact our immediate circumstances, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the things that our eye will go towards. So when it's time for another name, yeah, it's going to be the name of the person who is right now making your day-to-day life miserable and who also just hit you and, you know, and has been generally shitty to you for the last couple of weeks.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So it feels like I think that I would probably do the same thing. And then I would, just like she does, regret it and be like, oh, shit, I should have picked someone else that would be more consequential, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, you asked me today, and I'm probably going to think back over the last 24 to 36 hours of who pissed me off the most. And that's like going to be the name I give you.
I really don't know what I would do in that scenario because, like, you know, you saying pick somebody who actually matters. And the people that I want to die because they're bad people, I don't really know what good them dying even does. You know?
I think the trouble with picking a bigger name is that they die and there's like another snake that's going to pop up and take their place before their body hits the ground.
Yeah. You know, it's like there's just such a system in place that there's no one person that I can be like, get rid of them and everything's better. Mm-hmm. So in a way, I would just feel like, well, at least if I pick something that's pettier, I know that I'll see a result from that.
Mm-hmm, it would at least improve my immediate circumstances.
Exactly. But, you know, that said, I've definitely worked jobs where I was like, no, this boss can definitely just fall off a bridge or something would be great on their way to work.
Universe, I don't ask for much, but if you could see fit to make those brakes
fall off a bridge.
Well, that too. Maybe the brakes don't work, you know? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's an oil patch. It just careens right off of the bridge.
It's very detailed over here. All right.
I may have said too much on a recorded podcast. This broadcast to everybody for free.
Yeah, save this shit for the unsober, where people have to pay to hear you plan a murder. All right, so the chapter starts off with the packing up and heading out of all of the, you know, major part of the army.
There is so much happening in these two chapters with people that I don't really know.
Yeah. There
is so much movement. In both chapters, like the scope, because sometimes as I'm reading, I know that this is the war of several kings. You know, we're down a king, so we're like down to like 4 now, mm-hmm. right? And I know it's taking place over a great range, you know, throughout all of Westeros, and there's a lot of miles in between everybody, and this is all a very big thing that's happening. But as you're reading, it's so personal and individualized that you get sort of like tunnel vision. Well, I get kind of like tunnel vision. So when I have these moments where I'm just like, God damn, that's a lot of fucking people packing up and moving around. Like, I was really blown away by it. Like, Jesus Christ. It's like a city. Yeah. is moving, you know? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. To imagine it, to try to visualize it is just like it's blows me away a little bit when I try to think about it, mm-hmm, you know? Mm-hmm. So that was, I don't know if fun's the right word, but I enjoyed that in both chapters.
Yeah, I think and I'm looking at the notes from Austin Arminio. Thank you, Austin, again for sending these. He says we get a discussion of something a lot of show watchers pointed out. Why didn't Arya name Tywin? Here it makes more sense. Tywin and all of his commanders are so distant and removed from Arya's greater issues that she doesn't see them as a problem, while Weeze and the Tickler have more direct impact on her. And, you know, in the show, she's Tywin's cupbearer. So the fact that she doesn't think to have him killed feels a little bit weirder because he's in her face all the time. Mm-hmm, but in this, she like barely lays eyes on him. Yeah. You know? And also she's a child. There's also that. There's just like as a kid, and her like thought is if Weeze is dead, she can run.
Yeah. I like that a lot too. There's a moment where, because she can run at any time. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know? She has a lot, like she's his runner. She is now, like, runs his messages all across this Harrenhal, like, you know, all day.
Right.
And she even thinks to herself, you know, like, I could just fucking bounce. I could disappear into this throng of bodies and probably get away with it. Yeah. And later she has a fantasy about when she's holding the sword to take back, and she's like, I have this big sword. I could probably get a horse. I got this letter in my hand. It's like basically a hall pass. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't. And I really like that it doesn't dig into it real deep, but I just think it's something that is difficult for people to imagine. It's difficult for me to imagine, especially when you start talking about history, and you start hearing about people who are, you know, captive but not chained.
Right.
And you're just like, why don't they just leave? Mm-hmm. I would have just left. You know? Mm-hmm. But the fear that she has, the fear that Weiss has been able to instill in her, and I'm not sure how long we've been here, but you know, it's been a little while. Mm-hmm. She is so terrified, and not only is she afraid of him, but he has managed to do this thing where, and I don't know if people have ever met anybody in real life that do this, but I have a few times, and it is really difficult to describe. But Weiss makes her think that he knows what she's thinking. Yeah. Don't bother trying to escape. I'll know it before you even think of it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it is just, it keeps her from even trying. Her fear of trying to escape and being caught is enough to keep her from even trying. And I don't think that's something that people think about often.
Yeah. I just, I think that we all believe that we would be willing to risk it all for the chance at freedom, but a lot of times the immediate threat of violence being done upon you just completely outweighs, you know.
Absolutely.
Especially if you haven't had great luck. You don't trust your luck.
Yep. And she is, you know, she has already seen a lot of violence. She's seen a lot of death happen to, friends might be too strong of a word, with like the people she was traveling with to the wall, but you know, also family. She knows how real it is. Yeah. And that it can happen at like any second. She doesn't have that sort of what is the word? That invulnerability, kind of, you know, like, oh, you know, nothing bad could ever happen to me.
Right. Yeah.
She's like, plenty of bad shit has already happened to me.
Exactly.
You know, and when you talk about how we all
invincibility,
that was the word. Thank you. You know, when you're talking about people, always think that they would do like the most heroic thing, because we always cast ourselves as the hero in like whatever story we're reading. Yeah. And like, just between me and y'all, most of us are not. No. You know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but, you know, we are very rarely the hero in the stories that we read, or even in the stories of our own lives. But we have this fantasy, you know, what we would do if we were in that situation. Bitch. Mm-hmm. You would go back to Weiss and hand him his message and eat your little weak ass stew and try to stay out of trouble.
I just that thing on top of it all got me so irritated. He promises her some capon.
Mm-hmm. That's a bird?
It's basically a hen.
Okay.
And she's like thinking that he forgot, and then he summons her up to the front of the table, and she's like, sweet, he remembered. And then it's just that she was like watching him eat.
Yep.
And he like freaks out. Mm-hmm. And like shoves her, and her dress gets caught on something and rips, and he's like, all right, yeah, you're definitely going to have to go and sew that up before you go to bed. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, because there's a great moment where for a second she's like, oh, he remembered, I kind of feel bad about asking him to be killed now. Mm-hmm, and then all of a sudden he does this, and she's just like, yeah, fuck that guy.
Yep. And it's really that moment is what solidified for me that, like, yeah, this was the name to give.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is exactly who you wanted.
Christ.
And then there's you know, the whole bit about her, because she hasn't seen Jaqen H'ghar,
yeah.
she hasn't seen him for a minute, and she's kind of like, all this running around she's doing, but she hasn't spotted him, and she runs into one of the one that's missing the nose.
From
from that she let out, and he's still terrible.
Yeah.
There's a lot of threatening, a lot of rapey threats.
Yep.
And then she asks him, where she can find Catelyn at, and he gets like, oh. And just nips all of that like aggression he had right in the bud.
I wish so much that I could be this kind of person. I want to be somebody that people hear like, I'm looking for Natasha, and they just shape up. Right. What goals. I love it so much.
So you want to instill fear in the hearts of men?
100%. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Postcard.
Guys, postcard, like, I appreciate everybody who posts in the Facebook group, and it's just like, hey, this would be a good postcard, because every time it's time for me to make a postcard, I'm just like, I don't know. I don't remember anything I said in my life. And I need your posts. I go searching for them to get reminders, because I just genuinely don't know. So, if you're looking for do you want to instill fear in the hearts of men postcard, go post that in Facebook to remind me, is what I'm saying.
Or on the Discord.
Yeah. Yeah, Discord's probably better, actually.
I do like that assistant to the regional manager, but of the wall, of the Night's Watch or whatever. But that you were saying it would be to take like a Photoshop and all this other kind of stuff, and this is like late.
I'm not good at that stuff. I want to learn how to Photoshop, because I see this, like, people whip this shit together all the time. Owen does it. He'll just like take a celebrity's face and put it on, or take his own face, which is my favorite when he does that. And I still haven't figured it out. And he does it on his phone.
It's all right, y'all know I'm old. Like, this is not news. And you also know I'm terrible with technology. Also not news. But let me thread these two together for you. Is Photoshop a thing that like anybody can get now?
I think it's
is it
$300?
Is it still like wildly expensive?
I think so, yeah.
My God, I won't tell that story. That's an Unsober story. Never mind. Remind me to tell you my Photoshop story.
Ooh.
Next time we're on Unsober.
Okay, noted.
But make a note.
Photoshop story.
So she eventually finds him in the bathhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to get up out the water. We were going to get a description, but we do not, and I was sad.
I love that, because you're just picturing the Jaqen Hagar of the show.
Yeah, I absolutely am.
However, it is said that like when he comes into the castle, all the women are looking at him because he's very pretty. So apparently, it's not totally inaccurate.
This hair he's got going on too.
The parti-colored.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
It's a look.
It is a look. So she finds him finally, and God damn it, cat! The door isn't even closed. This cat is staring at this door, y'all. It's not closed all the way. All it would take is like the slightest nudge, but she can't be bothered. So excuse me while I go open this door for this cat real quick.
All right, I'll vamp.
Just gotta scoot over.
Vamp. Apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. I really should cut this after the fact. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it because I'll forget. But yeah, so she gives him the name, and she tries to sneak up on him too.
That's just what I was going to say. Yeah, and he hears her. And he's just like, a clever girl goes barefoot. And I'm just like, already giving lessons. Look at you.
Clever girl. So, yeah, she is hoping when she goes to bed, as was I, that Weiss would be already dead when she woke up. But instead, she goes to bed and gets woken up by him basically shoving his boot into her side.
Which apparently is just what he does every day.
That's how she gets woken up every day. Can you imagine?
This is why this is the name.
What?
This is why this is the name.
Oh, the name she gave. Yes,
right.
I thought you meant like Clash of Kings, and I was like, "What? That's what?"
No. How funny would that be, though?
Oh my god. Sean, I just texted Owen to do me that Photoshop, and he just sent it back in 2 seconds.
It's done already?
It's very bad.
So he has Photoshop on his phone?
No, he's got some app that does like the kind of thing, but very cheap. Look at it. It's Dwight Schrute's face on Snow's body.
You guys, I wish you could see it.
I might make this the fucking postcard. I might just do it. Why not? Who's gonna stop me? My boss?
Oh my god. That's amazing.
Okay, so anyway, yeah, she gets woken up this way and is just like, it doesn't occur to her until she starts to see everybody heading out.
Yeah.
That she's like, wait, oh, this is such a bad idea. A shiver crept up Arya's spine as she watched them pass under the great iron portcullis of Harrenhal. Suddenly she knew she had made a terrible mistake. I was so stupid, she thought. Wyse did not matter, no more than Chiswick had. These were the men who mattered, the ones she sought to have killed. Last night she could have whispered any of them dead if only she hadn't been so mad at Wyse for hitting her and lying about the Capon. Lord Tywin, why didn't I say Lord Tywin? Perhaps it was not too late to change her mind. Wyse was not killed yet. If she could find Jaqen, tell him. So she starts like running, trying to find him, and then hears a scream.
Yeah.
And he was attacked by his own dog. I cannot, to this day, figure out how Jaqen did this.
Yeah, this is a weird thing. Like, so he has, I'm trying to find it. He is just laid out on, like, the sidewalk.
Right.
Right? Because when I was reading this at first and she's running down the stairs, I misread it and thought that he had fallen down the stairs.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's a really good way to do this because, you know, that shit happens sometimes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just fall down the fucking stairs.
I think the other guy whose name she gave, it looks like he fell. I think they said.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I read it again and I was like, oh, wait. Because the next line is somebody being like, oh, he's had that dog since it was a puppy. It's so weird it would do that. Mm-hmm. And I went back and read it. I was like, oh.
Right?
So I don't know how he managed to do that unless he, you know, is able to, I don't know what.
Witches.
Like, be the dog. Like, he put on the dog's face for a second and made it look like...
Wow, that's not at all what I thought you were going to say. I don't know how he could do this unless he was going to be the dog. I thought, like, you know, if this were going to be some sort of, like, an MCU answer, they'd be like, oh, there were pheromones that got put on, you know, like... Mm-hmm. But in this, it's just like, well, it was magic. Right? It has to be. It has to just be magic. Or was it that he, like, tricked the dog somehow? Or did he, like, slice the guy's throat and then just toss the dog onto him as he ran away? He made it look like the dog attacked him, but really it was just like, you know.
I mean, I feel like that's the most reasonable thing to think. Is
chucking
that
the dog on him?
Yeah, he just kind of like dipped out of the shadows, sliced his throat real quick. The body drops, and the dog is right there. The dog is going to be all over that body as soon as it hits the floor.
I just think that somebody would have seen him, and nobody seems to be registering him.
the thing about that is if he's not looking and acting suspicious and there's a million people around and nobody has a reason to notice him, he's just chilling there like everybody else, like looking at this, oh shit, you see this guy? Wow, what happened to him?
Yeah, maybe.
So yeah, I don't know.
I'm very interested in y'all's theories if you guys have one, or if maybe Martin has said something.
I mean, I don't see why wearing the dog's face is off the table. I just, I do want to mention that throughout her chapter, she's running all these errands for Weiss,
Right.
And one of them, the one that's supposed to get her a piece of the chicken for dinner that he ends up not giving her, or the hen, is she goes to like collect on a debt.
Yeah.
And the guy is not going to pay, and she ends up stealing. What did she take? Like a
silver cup.
Right? And so Weiss is all like, "Oh, thanks. You're going to get extra food tonight." And then she also has all of these messages that she can read because there's an assumption that she's illiterate, and so he doesn't even bother sealing anything. But the messages don't really say anything good or important or interesting.
Yeah, it's super not helpful.
And isn't there talk about Robb's success? And she doesn't know exactly what he did.
Yeah.
But she knows that he won some kind of battle, some kind of way. But she doesn't know exactly what's going on with that. So that's another moment of, I know I used to watch the show and make like all these jokes about how information travels.
Yeah.
And how like everybody on the show always seems to know what the fuck's going on everywhere.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I like in the book we get a lot, excuse my squeaky chair. In the book we get so much more of like what it would actually must have been like.
Yeah.
With people just getting like crazy stories and, piecemeal information. So I'm enjoying that as well.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like show watchers thought that book readers were being too pedantic when we were like, they wouldn't know that yet. But it is a big part of the books is like how many wrong moves are made because people don't have the right information, or how many moves aren't made at all because they didn't know in time. Mm-hmm. And the show, I understand why they can't spend time on that kind of thing. They are trying to tell the story much more efficiently than the books because they don't have as much time and whatever. But there really is something lost in that, the frustrations of the communications, mm-hmm. as well as, just fucking transportation, because we see Peter Baelish teleport wherever the fuck. He's just anywhere he needs to be immediately. And it just, it's frustrating because that kind of thing may seem like it's a silly thing to get annoyed about, but it really does change how the story turns out, that people aren't able to get somewhere in time. It just, those are massive factors in the overall story.
I love in the Catelyn chapter, there's a moment where she's like, can we send a raven to Robb? But somebody's like, no.
Yeah, he's in the field.
He's out in the field.
They don't know where the ravens...
And I feel like that literally never came up in the show.
Exactly. Yes, it's like, always just send a raven to
send a raven.
Yep, 100%. And like I said, I get the reasons for it in the show, but I do think that there is something missing there when you just try and act like everybody has a fucking email address that they can go check every morning.
Everybody's doing a Facebook Live just to bring everybody on the same page.
Oh my God. I would love to see somebody do like a TikTok, but as Varys.
Oh my God.
Like, he's an influencer now, and the way that he would just be...
Now, bitch, he been an influencer.
Well, like, he's much more public about it. Oh, and probably he would do a lot of, like, makeup and, like, cosplay stuff because he's such a chameleon. Oh, so he'd be showing how to contour your face so that you look like you're, maybe you look more feminine or more masculine depending on
depending on your needs.
Exactly. That'd be really fun. But anyway, so, and I love all these people are like, well, we know that Harrenhal is haunted, so obviously this dog went crazy because of ghosts, which is as good a fucking reason as any, I suppose.
I mean, it seems to be like everybody is satisfied with that.
Yeah, this lady's like, I'm not sleeping here again. Everybody's like, word. This place is so awful, and so much horror and terrible things that are happening currently, right? Like right now in real time. Mm-hmm. But also the history of the place, that this really fucked up shit happens and like nobody thinks murder. Nope.
Or anything. They're just like, well, what are you going to do as Harrenhal?
Or even if they do think murder, it's just like, well, it's all such chaos. Like, mm-hmm. What are you going to do? A couple murders going to sneak in here and there.
Right. Yeah.
No batch is perfect.
There's a bit when Reese is talking about how, you know, the host is about to leave, you know, and then Tywin's marching and whatever, and he's like, so it won't be as many people around. However, it's still good. It's going to be even more work. And I was reading it like, how is he making it sound worse than it already is? Because it's already really fucking terrible.
Yeah. I know. How is it more work? He says, I guess, that they're losing a lot of help. So I guess, but I'm also like, yeah, but your guys are going to have to live in fewer places. Like, why keep, you know, there's talk about some of the towers and how, like, they haven't been opened or lived in years. Well, everybody's leaving. Don't open them then. Close them back up. It's like when you move into a house and you don't have any furniture set up and you don't even have, like, light bulbs in all the lamps, so you live in the living room, and that's where you live for the first day and a half, you know, and that's fine. Just do that. Anyway, so that is the end of that chapter. Jaqen H'ghar was leaning up against the side of the Wailing Tower. When he saw her looking, he lifted a hand to his face and laid 2 fingers casually against his cheek. And then a pair of sunglasses dropped on, and it played bum, 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 bum.
Oh my fucking god.
Anyway. Alright. Catelyn. So 2 days' ride from River Run, a scout spied them watering their horses beside a muddy stream. Catelyn had never been so glad to see the twin tower badge of House Frey. Mm-hmm. That'll be short-lived, my lady.
I got so mad. I got unreasonably irritated by that one little sentence. I was so mad. Like, I cannot get myself off team fuck the phrase forever. Like, they haven't
and you shouldn't.
Like, they're just the worst.
100%.
Just like, I don't even, like, this poor guy isn't even a Frey. He's a Rivers. And I'm just like, see.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but you've got that banner, though. Suspect. Highly sus. Red flag.
I was about to do a red flag meme with the phrase.
Oh, man, that would be a good one. If they have this last name.
Right.
Do a different last name post.
Marrying one of his daughters, red flag.
So she's like, so Edmure is the one that's in charge of River Run, and he says, yes, my lady, his grace left Sir Edmure to hold River Run and guard his rear. And Catelyn says, gods grant him the strength to do so and the wisdom as well. And later on, she's like, he's very soft-hearted and also maybe a little soft-headed. And I was like, damn.
This is a lot. It's a lot of slander for a character that didn't really mean much for the show. So, you know, like, he disappeared for like 4 seasons.
Yeah. But every time he appeared, he was like embarrassing.
Absolutely. I think it just because it was so short-lived that I just kind of like low-key forgot about him and forgot about how inept he is and how little regard she holds him in. Yep. Like, and this is a lot of I wish my uncle had stayed, because this guy, he's only had one battle and he lost that shit. And I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. I just, Catelyn has some poor judgment at times, as we have seen with her taking Tyrion. But in a lot of this, she's like, why didn't we do X, Y, Z? And like later on, you're like, yeah, why didn't we? Good question, Catelyn. Questions that need answers. So Grey Wind, it turns out, found a goat path through the mountains to get around the Golden Tooth, which is apparently like the main source of defense for the pass. And so everybody's like, how did he manage to take that? And they're like, no, he just went around it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like rumors circulating about, what exactly Robb did, and all of the sort of mythology that's building up around the direwolves. And there's even a bit where someone starts to think, or starts to say, what is it? Oh, they're saying that he killed somebody and fed his heart.
Lannister. Yeah.
And fed his heart to his direwolf. And Catelyn's like, no, my son's not a savage. You wouldn't do that. Yeah. This ride back to River Run. They're like just going on and on about Robb's victory and how like there's songs being written about it, and she has Brienne with her, and they want to know about like what happened with Renly, and she can't. Yeah, obviously can't.
What are you gonna say?
What are you gonna say? Mm-hmm. And she doesn't really say anything. She doesn't explain it here. I don't even know if like she ever tries to tell anybody out loud. Like, I don't know how you. What do you
say?
Shadow killed him? Like, So I remember in the show, there were moments where, did they try to tell anybody? After the moment when it really happened. I'm trying to think if later on they ever tried to like tell somebody else what happened. And I really can't remember.
Same.
But I just don't even know if it's worth trying to tell someone.
This is the kind of thing that, like, I always think about. Like, if you got abducted by aliens, would you tell anybody?
If they brought me back?
Yeah.
I would be so mad.
But, like, would you tell anybody?
That I got abducted by aliens?
Yeah, because, like, who's going to believe you?
No, I guess I really wouldn't tell anybody. I would just be mad that I was back by myself, I guess. But you're right. Like, nobody... I would be so salty if I got abducted and they brought me back.
I'd be like, bitch, no. Like, tradesies?
Give me another chance. I can be better. I can make it work.
Oh, God.
But to your point, yeah, no. Like I would, you know what? I would end up being one of those people that spends all their time in groups with other people who claim that they got abducted.
100%.
But I would secretly think that all the rest of them were full of shit.
Right? Thank you. Yes. That's always what I struggle with. Is like, yeah, I might think that I definitely went through a thing, but anybody else tries to tell me they did too, and I'm just like, yeah, you're full of shit. And that's just like such a messed up perspective to have, but I have it. This is the same way I feel about ghosts. I believe in ghosts, but you tell me you saw a ghost, and I'm like, sure you did. I don't buy it.
You don't buy that I saw ghosts?
Like,
I feel personally attacked now.
Like, I don't buy that, like, anybody's individual story. Even though, in theory, Yeah, I'm sure you did. Everybody in your building was like, there's some shit happening. I don't think you imagined it. But also, I'm like, yeah.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair.
I was listening, guys. If you haven't listened to Spooked, have you checked out Spooked, Rashawn, the podcast?
I have not.
It's a really fun, like, ghost and demon, whatever, supernatural kind of podcast that only comes out like from September to October every year, and they're really like highly produced stories that are told by the people who experience them, alleged true encounters with stuff. And some of them, I'm like, this sounds very real. And then some of them, there was one that I was like, oh, this story is interesting. This has been fun. And then they just are like, I didn't tell my mother until we moved out of that house what I had experienced. And she told me that she already knew because she was visited by the devil. And he told her about how I had been messing with the occult. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was just funny to me. Like, I'll be listening to this story about there was a demonic child with sharp teeth that lived inside my mirror. And I'm like, on board. But then you tell me the devil came, and I'm like, nope. Sorry, can't buy this story anymore. Like, why do I draw the line there? I don't know, but I do. We all have our line.
You had me up until you started talking about the devil. Now I know you're full of shit.
Once we get there, I'm just like, all right. Anyway, so let's see. Where's the next? Catelyn remembered the days when her boys had found the pups in the late summer snows. There had been 5, etc., etc. No common wolves. No, indeed. And they make camp, and Brienne asks if she can leave. And Catelyn's like, yeah, I should have known this was coming. Because she really just made her, like, herself distant from everything. Mm-hmm. But I kind of expected her to, like, come around by now. And she is still very fixated on, like, hunting Stannis down.
Yeah.
And Catelyn has to have, like, a talk with her and be like, look, I get it. And at first, Brienne's like, you definitely don't. And she's like, bitch, I was married to the guy. Like, yeah, no, I do.
Yeah. And then she, lets her guard down a little bit and expresses, I think what really wins Brienne over is she's like, if I could get my hands around Cersei's neck, mm-hmm. I would squeeze it until her face turns black. And Brienne is like, word? Okay.
I love it.
So, and it was, again, very, like, I have, like, a mental picture of this moment from the show, but I don't remember the conversation they had, so I don't remember if it goes like this or if it was even this satisfying, because I found this moment to be really satisfying.
Yeah.
And I love that Brienne is like, okay, when she offers, to swear an oath to Catelyn, she has a clause in it.
Yes.
She's like, but you cannot, like, get in my way or hold me back if I get a fucking chance at Stannis. Mm-hmm. And she agrees. Kat agrees. She's like, you know what? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
not going to break your style, and I'm not going to hold you down.
Oh, my God.
Sorry. I love that kind of laugh because it's very unwilling. It's like your intellectual brain is trying to hold it back. No, don't let the laugh. No, stop it.
I just feel so cheap.
Oh, that is the best compliment I've ever heard about a joke I've made. I feel so cheap for laughing. Oh, that's good stuff. All right. So let's see. Let's see. You and Brienne says you did not have to, like, help me when they thought that I had murdered Renly. And Catelyn's like, why would I not help you?
Yeah, she's like, you
didn't do
were
it.
right. She was like, you were innocent. I was standing right there. I couldn't like just let you take the fall for that. Brienne's like, but I was nobody to you. I was nothing. Like, you could have just, and also would have saved herself. Like, yeah, she did it,
right?
You know.
Mm-hmm.
And Catelyn is just like, I would never.
Yeah. But it's just, like, wild that Brienne thinks that was, like, on the table, because it just goes to show how she's probably been treated in a lot of ways.
Right.
Like, yikes.
And it's funny because, like, in the moment when it happened with Renly, it didn't occur to me that Catelyn could have just been like, oh, yeah, Brienne did that shit. I saw it, you know, because, you know, there's sort of an air of suspicion around Catelyn now because she was there when he died, and she's got this ridiculous story that no one's going to believe.
Right.
She could have nipped all of that in the bud by just letting Brienne take the fall for it, but she doesn't. And because I'm a good person, it never occurred to me that was an option in the moment. Same. But yeah, it totally was. And poor Brienne, I just, at one point, what is that moment when she says they calls her the beauty? I think it's when Kat is talking about strangling Cersei. Yeah, the beauty raised her eyes, the only part of her that was truly beautiful. And I was like, man.
Yeah, right. Just have to throw that in there.
Was that really necessary?
This is like Sam raised his eyes to Jon, all 11 of his chins quivering wildly. Like, did we have to? Every time.
It's so unnecessary.
Yeah. Yep.
But I mean, I guess it's fine. but yeah, I just wanted to mention that real quick. I meant to say it when we were back there, but so Brienne swears this really solemn, official sounding oath that like she just freestyles like off the dome.
It is not. It's a traditional vow.
Is this what we just go around making vows to people?
This is like, because remember Kat says how many times had she heard Ned repeat his words back? She says
how many times she had heard Ned, how many times she had watched people swear an oath to Ned is what she says, I think. Which made me think, like, I'm thinking of an oath as like a broader term, as opposed to a specific set of words you say. You know what I mean?
Got you.
So, but if this is like a script that everybody knows this is what you say, then I missed that. I didn't quite get that. And that makes more sense. But I was really impressed because I was like, oh, damn, she's just spitting.
I actually used this on the postcard for a couple months ago. What is it? I'm finding the design. Here it is. I vow that you shall always have a place in my group and laugh and love in your earbuds, and pledge to ask no comments of you that might bring you into dishonor. I swear it by the old pods and the new. So this was what that was based on.
Excuse me.
So, yeah, I really am, like, I had forgotten that it takes some convincing to get Brienne to align with her, because I think on the show, Brienne asks Kat, can I serve you?
I think so.
Kind of out of nowhere. And it's not really made clear that she is struggling against an instinct to go after Stannis. It's sort of made more like she has nowhere else to go and doesn't really know what to do with herself. And she needs somebody to serve to feel like she's useful, and Catelyn's just there, you know?
I wish I could remember better. But yeah, I just... like I said, I can see it the moment, with her down with the sword out and all that, but I can't remember the conversation around it.
Yeah.
Or even when exactly it happens.
I can't either.
Don't even
ask me anything.
All right. Okay. All right.
Forget it.
So, so that happens, and eventually they make it back to River Run, right? And...
Yeah.
So they get home, or close to home, and there are a bunch of Lannister bodies hanging outside.
Yep.
And it turns out that Tyrion's little gambit almost worked.
Almost.
Got really, really close. I love that Catelyn recognizes it immediately.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else does or if it even matters that anybody else does, but I love that she is like, I know exactly who was behind this.
Although later on, she thinks that like the queen gave her Ned's bones back, and they have to be like, no, that was the imp. And she's like, oh, all right. Fine.
Begrudgingly.
Exactly.
But yeah, so Tyrion's plan to have these people sneak in. I love this. One of them is like imitating Edmund's voice, I think.
Yes.
To like raise the gate or something. That's so good. That's so good.
And he's like, I didn't think it sounded anything like me, but these idiots open the gate anyway.
I love that moment. And also that he was just like out in the streets when all this was happening. Mm-hmm. And that's how the plan ended up getting sort of foiled, is that he is coming home and somebody is like, wait, how are you here and also up there yelling out command?
Oops.
So that happened. And there's a bit about Edric Storm.
Yeah.
Here. I don't know how much of this I want to get into. I mean, did I have a choice? But
right, I was about to be like, what do you mean?
No. But so there is this Penrose gentleman.
Okay.
And he is sort of being besieged by Stannis. And he is like, I'm not throwing in with anybody. Mm-hmm. I will throw in with whoever comes and helps me out of this predicament that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
Which I think is, is not necessarily unreasonable.
Yeah, I mean, gotta play the cards you've got, I guess.
Right? I think it's like, I don't think anybody's going to take him up on that offer. But for him to say, if you want me to, be on your team, you need to come help me out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, why not? Shoot your shot.
Stannis has sworn that the garrison might go free unharmed, provided they yield the castle within the fortnight and deliver the boy into his hands. But Sir Courtenay will not consent. And Catelyn's like, really?
Yeah, she's like, all this? For this? What she call him, a base-born boy whose blood is not even his own.
Yeah.
Which is a real dark moment.
Yeah.
For her character. And I mean, like, not like the character in the book, but I mean, like, her moral fiber.
Totally. I mean, it aligns with the way that she's fucking treated Jon, so I guess.
Absolutely. But it's strange because she, as far as I know, which is very little, this Edric Storm is Robert's bastard son, and this Penrose knows that. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's pretending it's his kid. So it's this energy that she's bringing is her I don't want to say dislike, but her distaste for the whole Jon Snow situationship.
Wow. Sure, yeah.
Is it's so pressing. It's so like, right in the back of her throat at all times. Ew. That it just comes out.
Ew.
At the slightest nudge. Like all she has to do is hear about some bastard boy somewhere else. And her immediate reaction is just like, all that for him?
Yeah.
It's so toxic.
Yep. And it's kind of interesting because, like, look, I understand her feelings about Jon in relationship to Ned. Like, her feelings of being betrayed and all of that. But if she were just given a kid to, like, to care for. And then somebody shows up and is like, basically, give me the kid and I won't completely tear this place down. I don't really see Catelyn being like, yeah, fine, here's the kid.
Yeah, that's what makes this so odd. Is because this situation with this Edric and Penrose is not the Ned and Jon Snow situation.
Yeah,
you know, but all that venom she feels about it just comes right out. Yeah, luckily she just thinks it to herself. She doesn't blurt it out, which for a second I thought she was gonna fucking really say something.
But yeah, there's a moment in the previous chapters, I think in the first book, where she comes across a base-born girl, and she's like, immediately has this sort of like,
and the girl is really nice to her too, right?
The girl's really nice and helpful and keeps her from like fucking falling off a cliff. When she's
going like to the Erie or some shit, right?
Yeah,
I remember that.
And the girl says something about how she's going to marry so and so, and Catelyn's like, "Bitch, no, you're not. You have no name. They're absolutely not going to let you marry their son." And she like feels a pity for her, but also there's just this contempt. And I was just like, ew, lady. Like,
I wonder how much of it is not just about, we talk a lot about with Jon Snow and how that impacts how she feels about this sort of shit. But, you know what? Sometimes it might just be good old-fashioned elitism, right? Mm-hmm. Just regular old, I'm noble, y'all not. You know? Just,
yeah.
You know, and it just sort of devaluation of, quite frankly, their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, that's what it comes down to, in my opinion. It's like, she can be a decent person, but that kind of, like, classism, it's really hard to just breed that out of, you know, like, that's how the whole world works here. So. Here, there, everywhere. Sing it.
So they want to know, these folk, these men folk that are with Edmure. There's like 3 guys who were actually her father's men, so they're all like old now,
right?
And they want to know what happened with Renly. And Edmure is like, you know, word on the street is you killed Renly. I mean, other people are saying it was somebody else.
I couldn't believe he just said that to her.
He did.
Yeah, he just blurts that shit out, and I was like, oh, that's what we're doing now.
This is why she said, you know, soft head or whatever she
right,
said about him.
True.
Because it's also like, I mean, I know these are his men, but it's also like, you know, we're still kind of, we haven't retreated to a private place just yet, if I'm not mistaken. Right? So, Brienne actually speaks up, and she says, no, he was murdered. It wasn't, you know, Catelyn, and she swears by it. And this is when Catelyn has to actually introduce Brienne to everybody. And she's so awkward.
Poor Brienne. She has no idea how to handle everybody just being like, nice to meet you. She just like starts crying.
Sometimes it is too much. Pleasantries and meetings and greetings, sometimes it's just too much.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so Catelyn is like, yeah, we were there, but I'm not going to talk about it. We weren't part of his death, but we're not going to speak about it. She does say of the shadow, but there's no way for them to know what that means.
Yeah.
And she says we're not going to do it in the open with everybody around. And then this is when he starts to tell her about how everybody got hanged and, you know, what happened. And I'm trying to think. Oh, and then they have to, like, she's like, make sure you still got Jaime, right? Please tell me you got Jaime.
That's right. I forgot about that. She definitely has a moment of, like, if these assholes fucking killed him, oh, there will be hell to pay.
And, he's like, she's like, you know, they what were the terms? And I think it's Edmure is still talking. He's like, they were not even real terms. Like, it was just an insult.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's not wrong, but I just can't trust Edmure. Like, I know that he is right because I saw the terms.
Right.
But also him saying that, I'm just like, oh, shut up, dude. Shut up. Just stop it.
Yeah. And she has no reason to trust his judgment when it comes to it. So it seems anyway. So, you know, like him telling her, oh, you can't even call them terms. I feel like she's like, well, I would really like to see them because you can't be trusted.
Exactly. Like, I love my brother and everything, but low-key, he sucks. And there's a moment where when they finally get home and they're walking to the castle, she's like, this bitch is crowded. Mm-hmm. And in this, I was like, oh, well, yeah, these people are terrified. War is coming. They want to go somewhere safe. And that's when she's like, this is going to be a lot of mouths to feed. Mm. And they can't help us, protect anything. They can't fight anyone for us. Yeah, she's like, wow, you just let all of these people in here when we're about to have a siege. And again, it's just another moment of her being pretty intensely practical to the point of, like, brutal.
Yeah.
Like, ruthless, I guess, would be the word. And, I mean, in some ways I respect that, like, you gotta be. But also, it's just a weird thing when you are used to this character being basically a good guy, in quotes, for them to just be like, well, we shouldn't really be doing this for, like, random nobodies. And it's like, wow.
Yeah. People that don't bring any, or she calls them useless. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there it is.
Yep.
This is when we find out that Robb is like, you need to go to the twins as soon as you get back. Mm-hmm. And they are like, we're going to give you fresh horses and food, and you're going to get on your way. And she is just like, I'm going to be staying here. And thinking to herself, I know Robb wants me to be safe. He wants me out of the way. But
tough.
I want to be here where my father is what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah. So, she goes to see her father. This was pretty sad.
Yeah.
How does she not know what her father is talking about?
Right? I feel like it's super obvious.
I thought so too, but I can't be trusted. I was like, maybe I'm just inferring way too much from my exposure to the show. But this feels like even without the show, as a reader, you're just like, clearly we all know what he's talking about. But she is just like, oh, I wonder who it was.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You know who it was. Is it because she's so sure that, because we're talking about, okay, first of all, before I start, talking too much shit, it's Littlefinger, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it because, is Catelyn thinking that he just loved her so much he would never, and that's why it doesn't occur to her?
It might be. I don't really have like a good reason why not.
Oh, I just thought it was really weird that she's struggling to figure out who her father is talking about.
Yeah, I think that it might be a combination of that. Also, like, maybe she just doesn't think that her sister liked Littlefinger that much, but it seemed like we saw her memory of her sister, and she was pretty flirty with him.
I thought so too.
So I don't really know.
Yeah, I'm wondering, maybe it's a mixture of just thinking that her sister wouldn't bother with someone like Littlefinger for real, But I don't know. It just struck me. I was just like, that's weird. But her father is dealing with the kind of dementia, that has him speaking to her as if they are still, girls living at home.
Right. Yeah, it's super sad.
And that's sad. Yeah.
Hate that. I hate anything about dementia. It's just like one of those things that just feels so cruel.
Yeah, it is really just an incredibly slow, devastating thing to watch a loved one go through,
Yeah.
And it's really, really difficult too. And I have, I'm of an age where I have a lot of friends who are dealing with taking care of their elderly parents. And, not to get too sidetracked, but the combativeness,
Yeah.
There's a real sort of unfortunate side of a personality that comes out.
Yeah.
It's awful. And this, you don't see it too much here. Like, he seems like he's pretty medicated, and whatever. But yeah, it's just a sad way. It's a sad, sad way to go.
Yeah. The combativeness is the one that I always wonder, like, how I would cope with that, because I just have such a temper sometimes. And just knowing that it's not, like, their fault and not on purpose does not help when you are having, like, a flare-up of, like, resentment and anger at the whole situation, not just like the person.
Right.
But yeah, I felt for her in this scene, although I was glad that he stayed alive, because she left and wasn't sure she was going to be back before he died.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember.
Whoever is helping to take care of him even says to her, I think at one point, that they don't think that he has much time left.
Mm-hmm.
And she leaves from seeing her father, and there are folks waiting for her. Silent Sisters are there.
Yeah.
And they have brought, soon as she sees them, which I guess they're not easily mistaken, she knows, as soon as she sees them, like, oh shit, I know what this is. It's Ned. Which, not a problem with the storytelling or the plot. I'm not nitpicking. I just want to say, it's a whole ass war going on. It could have been anybody if they were bringing back.
I mean, I guess, but I don't think the Silent Sisters accompany just anybody.
Well, I mean, of the people that we know that are, and that's the other thing too, is I don't know who sends them, how that works. But I mean, Robb is out in these streets fighting. The Blackfish is out in these streets fighting. Mm-hmm. Who else? There's a couple of highborn people that are out at a way to war. But it's fine.
That's fair.
But they have brought back Ned's bones. Remind me.
I'm sorry. I just remind you what?
Is it really him? I can't remember if there was trickery.
I don't know. I think that we discussed whether or not it would be him. There was a sort of there was a question of they had his head on a pike, but do they keep his body somewhere else? We were both sort of not really sure how that would all work.
Right.
But I don't think that we
that
know
now.
that there is trickery. It's just more that we were kind of wondering about how the logistics of that would work.
Right, I remember that.
And whether or not anybody would be able to tell. You could just send whoever, and
right.
nobody would necessarily know.
There's she's looking at this. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. So she's looking at this skeleton, the skeletal remains, and it is dressed.
Right.
Which I was not really prepared for. Because I have very little experience with skeletons in real life. I'm sorry. So I know that this is a really solemn moment. But, so it's dressed in his formal wear. Stop laughing at me.
You're saying formal wear? I don't know why that's, but you're making it sound like he's in a fucking tux, and it's just...
Well, I think maybe the better phrase would have been his dress uniform or whatever. You have your, if you're in the military, you have your combat gear or whatever. It's
Right.
like camouflage. Then you have like your dress shit. This you take all your pictures in. You know, it's got your little doohickey with your ranks and all your little medals and shit.
Okay.
So that's what I think of this outfit being. It's Ned's dress uniform.
Okay.
And she notices that he does not have ice.
Yeah. And they're like, yeah, we didn't get that back.
Yeah, he has a sword. It's just not the one.
Which is just, don't send a sword then.
This is where I'm going with that. But so yeah, and she also mentions that the head is sort of being held to the body with wire.
Yeah.
Which, you know, of course makes sense, but was such a detail I wasn't really expecting. I really appreciated it. Because it was not that we needed a reminder, but the whole thing is so surreal.
Yeah.
You know? And I don't know if when we were talking logistics did we even think about that part. Like
How you reattach the head?
Like, yeah, like, is it just going to be the skull in the bag rolling around with the rest of the bones, and then somebody has to assemble it when it gets to where it's going?
Oh my god, some assembly required from the outside of the box. God damn it. I hate it. Oh, it's messed up. How dare you? Anyway.
But it was a very touching and moving moment.
What's it?
If I were not already dead inside, it absolutely would have been.
Man.
Oh, God. So, it ends with, my goodness, because, this is when Catelyn is, saying that I guess she has to thank the queen. And they tell him that it was Tyrion, and she thinks that one day I will thank them all. And that I really love.
Except that, no, you won't.
Yeah, well, that part I don't love. And then she asks that, that really this is not his resting place. He needs to go back to Winterfell so he can rest, where he's supposed to with the rest of his family.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends with her asking everyone to leave her alone so she could spend one last night with Ned. And yeah, it ends on that note. Your doggy's back.
This fucking dog. Ugh. Sorry, everybody.
That was so loud.
What, me saying this fucking dog? Sorry. It's just, and there's so many dogs around here, and like, I don't blame the dog. It's just very frustrating when I sent Rashawn a video when I was on vacation. I was painting the office after the little fire I had, and there was just a dog that was like a metronome. For 3 hours. Unflagging for 3 hours. And like, why? What's out there? Nothing. He's bored, probably. That's all it is. But I had headphones in, and it was still like, oh God, I want to go out there and turn that dog into a pair of boots. It's about to happen. Watch out. I was getting very irate.
Poor dog.
So, any guesses on what the next 2 chapters are? Who they are? Who have we not spoken to in a while, perhaps? Or somebody that you want to see something from?
Davos chapter might be nice, just to figure out what the fuck's going on with Stannis.
I really do miss Davos.
Doesn't have his own chapters. And if I had Daenerys is probably due to come rolling around.
Okay.
Because I feel like we haven't seen her in like 3 episodes, I think. Maybe 2 episodes. It's been a little bit.
It's been... Yeah, it has been a bit. I feel like it might be 3 episodes.
Yeah, it's like 6 chapters ago. So yeah. Yeah,
all right. And I am going to bring up new patrons real quick. I meant to do that before, but I forgot. I've been distracted because I'm trying to assemble the Photoshop of the Office characters. I'm figuring it out. But I just want to thank everybody who has joined, and it just seemed like me putting out that plea and being like, guys, I'm really worried, help. People really took that to heart, and I just appreciate it so much. I am now dealing with some dental stuff that's going to cost thousands of dollars, and it's just always there's always something. So I just appreciate a lot that I can be vulnerable and just be like, I'm scared, help. And people will, and it's just really nice. So thank you guys a lot. It means so much. So let's see, new patron this week. We've got Ben Howitt. Hi, Ben. How are you doing? And Ben's the only new patron this week. So Ben gets the special treatment of being the only one. Welcome. We welcome you. And roll out the red carpet, which is me mentioning your name and only your name. But yeah, thank you very, very much. And thank you all out there for listening. Don't forget to share the show with people that care about Song of Ice and Fire. Post the link to the show in chats and comment sections and stuff if you think of it. It's just that kind of thing really does add up a lot and helps a lot. And it's difficult to quantify, but, a lot more people will be engaged in your comment than because you just don't see every single response or every person who reads it if they don't react to it. So I just really encourage that, because word of mouth is most of what I've got. I don't really take out ads. I've been thinking about doing it, but it is quite an investment. And the ads I took out on Facebook a long time back didn't do anything. Yeah. Nothing. It was a complete waste. So I feel like probably I could find a better place to put that money than Facebook, but I still am gun shy because of it. So, yeah, that's one of those that I'm sort of I'm sure it would be a good idea, but I need to talk to somebody. But yeah, that's how you guys can help. If you can't become a patron, totally understand. But if you can talk about the show to people, that's still huge. And I think that's everything. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap?
No, ma'am. I'm good.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again so much for listening. We love you so much. And we will be seeing you again soon with 2 more chapters. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Meryn Trant, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.